Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, and especially to those people that are here for the very first time today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stephanie Kenner, part of the Learning and Development team here at My Local Aggregation. And if you are here for the very first time, I just need to let you know that we do record these sessions, so if any of you would like to share this interview with Rosco today, it will be available for you afterwards. You are also eligible for one CPD point today, whether that's with FBAA or MFAA, and we can provide that information to you via email after this presentation. So today's a really exciting day for me to be able to share this next 40 or 50 minutes with you with Ross Lawrenson, probably better known to all of you as Rosco. He's our National Sales Manager, but I guess one thing that really makes Rosco very different to many of the sales managers and senior management people in aggregation these days is that Ross has really walked in the same shoes as you. He's been in the industry since the late 70s, initially starting out with car finance. He moved into having a couple of his own businesses and franchises, and not only was he a very successful broker in his own right, but he really had that proof in the very many back-to-back achievements and rewards that he was given over the years for loan writing, service, insurance, and so on and so forth. So he's also coached and mentored countless brokers over the years, and we're very lucky that earlier this year Rosco's come on board here with us as a part of our team. So what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about trail books, and specifically around how to grow your trail books and how to retain them. And this is coming very much from a service perspective, how to look after your clients. So we'll be talking about the fact find, annual reviews, touch points, and how to develop your networks and nurture them. And we'll also be talking about social media. So I'm really aware that with many aggregators, there are so many things available to you these days, but we're going to be talking about some of the good old-fashioned simple ways of keeping connected to your clients to make sure that you don't get any surprises in the future, which is that unexpectedly they fall off your book and you're wondering why. So with that, I'm going to bring Rosco on board and say very nice to have you join us, Rosco.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here again. We're becoming the dynamic duo.
We are.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Rosco, as we get started, here we go. Fantastic. As we get started,
Yep.
Today we're going to be talking very much about the difference between transaction-based brokers and brokers that believe in customers for life. And I know your motto is very much customers for life.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Nurturing. So
It's got to be.
give us some of your insights about that.
Well, I guess it's all in the detail, isn't it? So you're a transactional broker, you write the loan, you set and forget, you don't stay in touch, you've got no business plan or formula to continue working with that client. Whereas a customer for life is that during your fact-finding procedures, during your discussions, you're building a rapport with the client and you're trying to set towards a 15 to 20-year goal. So depending on the age of the client, etc. But a good broker will have in the back of their mind a customer life focus. And look, words are cheap. I mean, we can all throw these terminologies out. I've been to a gazillion training sessions where people get up and prattle on. But the simplistics of it are, if you are purely in the business of just writing a loan and making some money and that's it, well, it's probably not the right industry for you. We constantly hear about retention of clients, about I guess, talking to a lot of the brokers that I do on a regular basis. Our biggest competitor is, unfortunately, the banks. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to be controversial. However, if you don't look after your client, they stroll into a bank. They might be getting a credit card increase because they're travelling overseas. They want to pay extra on their home loan and they don't want to amend their direct debit details. These people in the branches are trained to service your client.
And they've got quotas.
Yes. Well, the cynic in me, I mean, at the end of the day, every time I speak to a bank, they tell me they are our friend.
Yeah.
However, so the whole concept of it is if you have a customer life focus, then your goal is to be their go-to person for all things financially transactional. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah.
So you've got to build a rapport. So one of the, I go back to way back when I first got into a management role, is I would ring a client 30 to 60 days after settlement. So this is a client of a broker under our platform. And the main issue they had was the fact that in leading up to the deal, the broker wouldn't leave them alone, constantly doing everything they could. And then from the date of, technically the date the loan went in and the date the loan got approved, they were never available.
Yeah.
So they felt a loss because this person had demonstrated that they were happy to be their friend and their confidant, and now they've just purely disappeared. So I know, for example, that if I wrote a loan with some of the major banks, there was technically nothing I could do to help them in the management of that loan once it had settled. But if you just say to your client, listen, mate, don't annoy me, just ring 1-800, I don't give a rat's, then you deserve everything you get.
Yeah.
Whereas you may not be able to help them, but at least you take their inquiry and you go and talk to the BDM and say, look, my client wants to do this. Is there any way I can help him because he's unavailable to get into a branch during the day or any of those sort of things?
Yeah, sure.
You've got to constantly find ways to be pertinent and relevant in their experience. Mm. So, yeah, it's a great word, customer for life. But if you don't know what it means, please get in touch with me personally and I'll be more than happy to run through some what-if scenarios.
Yeah, and that brings us to a topic I know you're very passionate about, and this is the fact find. Now, when this was first introduced, there was a lot of brokers, and myself included, it was a really big adjustment for us to suddenly have additional paperwork to fill out, more in-depth discovery of the customer's circumstances, which didn't feel comfortable for all of us. More obligations in terms of compliance. So not every broker embraced that, and that's certainly become a little bit easier with technology. But you really feel that fact finder is a friend.
I love the fact finder. It's the most amazing marketing tool that I have seen, in the sense of it encapsulates everything that the client's current position is. And then leading in and leading out of the fact find, you already have, because part of your NCCP now is that you must clearly identify you understand your client.
Yeah.
So when all this was introduced in the late 90s or the late 2000s and 9s to 10s, 11s, a lot of my friends, the ex-Aussie guys, they all had mini meltdowns, but I thought it was a great opportunity. And let me premise why. So when And for those of you who probably weren't even born when I started writing loans, there'd be nothing for me to sit in a lounge room with an Aussie home loans client, and they would automatically expect me to have a solution then and there on the night. Now, under legislation, that's taboo.
Yeah.
We are supposed to hunt and gather information, find a story, use the fact find, then go away and come back with a solution. Tremendous. Because it allows the broker now the opportunity to go away and do the research. And that's why organisations such as Finance and Coffee, and anyone listening in who's not a member of Finance and Coffee, get yourself on. It's a Facebook application because it's brokers sharing what's happening in real life for them, and other brokers then giving advice. So you're able to go away. Now, that immediately gives you the insight. So if you're a 40-year-old client and the only asset they've got is their family home, and they bought it 5 years ago, you know the chances are, unless they bought really badly 5 years ago, that there's been anything up to a 50% capital growth.
Yep.
So these clients now have got equity that you never, or they never expected to have. They didn't plan for it, it just happened. So it's able to lead you in to the next phase of their investment life and create an investment. Theory of having life is a tenant always wants to become a property owner always wants to become a landlord, the circle of life. So our job is to help take them on that journey. The other thing is that if you work the relationship correctly and you work the fact finder correctly, when you go back to your client with your credit proposal and your thoughts, you're able to reinforce it together. Now we're going to go on a journey. So that 40-year-old person, I might have said, so what do you feel that you'd like to retire on? I might have said, everyone says, when you ask that question, by the way, just text me if I'm wrong, but everyone I ever asks, what do you want to retire on? They all seem to say about $100,000, about $1 million, sorry. And then the other question I always ask people is, how much can you afford to invest in your future? Everyone says $100 a week, but they've been saying that for 27 years. So nothing's changed as far as that's concerned. So yeah, it's fairly important that by utilising that data that you clearly demonstrate we're going to go on this journey, we're going to go one step at a time. And that technically means that if they were to walk into a branch, speak to the lovely lady behind the jump to pay that additional money or to upgrade their credit card or whatever it is they're doing, if the lady in question goes, would you like to talk to our home loan person about anything, the simple answer hopefully will be, look, I'm pretty right, I'm dealing with my broker and we're going on a journey together. The thing that upset me when I made a lot of those phone calls in that past life was, and we're talking only 45 to 60 days after settlement, a lot of clients didn't even remember the name of the broker who wrote the loan.
Yeah, right.
Like, how can that happen? Yeah. Seriously, it just does my head in. But that's because the broker 15 years ago plus never had any systems or structures. It was all transactional.
Correct.
I'll write a loan, I'll get paid, I'll go and write another loan.
Yes.
I think we're a little bit smarter and wiser today.
Yeah. So what about with the fact find? What else, even like in the future for that customer? What sort of clues might you be looking for and how you might be able to keep them connected to you longer term? What other information would be in there?
Superannuation.
Yeah, right.
Key question.
Yeah.
A lot of brokers gloss over it. I always ask my client to have his superannuation policies, plural, available for when I do the appointment, because I know most people have got more than one policy. And I know most people have no idea what their entitlements are, because when they went to get a job, they just signed a form. Yeah. Am I insured? I think so. Yes. How much are insured for? I don't know. So fairly important. Motor vehicles, I think we touched on that during our last discussion point, but those who weren't there, don't just write down a Ford Falcon. Find out what year it is, how many kilometres it's done.
Yep.
Is there any, how is the loan that's currently on it structured? Is there a residual due? Is there a balloon payment due? How many months to go? These sorts of things. Classic thing I used to always do is when I walked up the driveway of a house, I obviously had a look at what was on the front lawns, what was in the driveways, and then when I rang the doorbell, most people that have got married with a couple of kids, somewhere within the framework there's a big photo of the family.
Yeah, right.
I used to have a quick look at the age of the children in that picture, and then I'd have a quick look at the parents, and then I'd have another quick look back at the real parent to determine just how many years ago would that possibly have been. So if you've got a wife with 3 young children driving a 1998 Datsun Bluebird, nothing wrong with 1998 Datsun Bluebird, but if I was the man of that house, I probably wouldn't be overly comfortable with my wife taking my 3 children in a car that has no ABS, has no airbags, etc., etc., etc. So you might not have to go I want to take my clients to to buy their first, second or third investment property. It might be nothing more than I'm going to restructure their loans and I'm going to release some equity, 25, 30,000, so they can go and buy a car that's more relevant to what the needs of the family unit might be. So it's being aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the annual review.
Yep.
And what your strategies are on what you want to achieve out of that.
Okay.
There's probably quite a few tools these days that can support the
Yes.
brokers.
A lot of tools, a lot of data. So a couple of things, and keeping in mind now I'm talking as a 2020 broker, not as when I 1994. When I first joined the mortgage industry, we had there was no format to anything, just wrote loans. I soon learnt very quickly that the rapport that I was building with my clients meant that they would refer me to their friends. I probably didn't have a strategy at how often would I go and review the loan. And most brokers don't like reviewing the loan because we all live under the stress and pressure of a clawback. So a lot of loans on the market today, if the loan just happens to be moved or transferred to another lender within the first 2 years, the broker could lose his entire commission.
Sure.
So a lot of brokers are loath to go anywhere near the client in the first 2 years. Well, never be frightened to talk to your client. So we talk about protecting a trail book. Well, all that means is protecting the integrity of the relationship you have with the client.
Yeah.
So if the relationship with the client was sensational leading into application, but between application approval, settlement, there was delays, there was issues, there was dramas, there was the usual normality of life. Nothing's ever smooth. I know brokers who sit back and go, oh my gosh, thank God, that loan settled. I never have to deal with them again. Well, to me, the most important a broker can have is the broker who did have an issue.
The client, yeah.
Of the client. Because you must ring the client straight after settlement. You must check that the bank accounts have been opened. You must check that you know roughly that a month to 6 weeks later their pays are going to start going in, and you should know that their pays are now going to go into that offset account. So did they arrive okay? Did everything go through smoothly? Because if you don't ring them and it hasn't happened, then they're not going to ring you, they're going to ring the bank.
Sure.
And do you know how long that loan will stay in your books?
Yeah.
Not long.
Not long.
No. So never be frightened to turn adversity into advantage. So if it has been horrendous, take them a bottle of scotch with a little note saying, here's some Disprins as well to cure the hangover you're going to have in the morning, but hey, we can all laugh about it now. Little things like that. Yeah. If the client's buying a brand new house, they're going into their first home or they're moving to another home, take a little plant, buy a tree, go to a nice nursery and buy a plant. And if they've got kids, tie money to the tree and go and plant the tree near the front door and get the kids out there and they can pick the money off and tell them it's a money tree.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you're engaging, because I didn't realise it, but in 1994, all those 7-year-olds are now my clients. Does that make sense?
And they've remembered the money tree.
And they've remembered Rosco and the money tree. So, look, very important. And, of course, you've got credit card limits. So do they need all those cards? So that person who bought their house 5 years ago, it's now increased. So it's gone from 500,000 to 750,000, but their debt's down to 400. That's $350,000 they've now got to invest. So what are you doing about opening their eyes
to how to use the equity?
Correct. Now you might mention, and they might go, "Oh no, we're not interested in buying an investment property." So what I used to do is go, "Okay, that's okay. Have you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad?" And those of you out there who haven't, go and do yourself a favour. So I used to say to my client, "Go and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Any good bookshop." So in 7 days' time, I would ring, not to do anything else, but to just say, "How are you enjoying the book?" Well,
I haven't got around to it.
No. We all know that's going to be the answer. So I would go on Fish Pond or one of those book outlets that you can buy books in bulk. So I used to have a couple of boxes of the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I would open it up and I would just write the front cover. I go, "Dear Stephanie, this book is a loaner. Please return it once you've made your first million. Regards, Rosco."
Yeah, cool.
Put it in an envelope, post it. Now, or an express postman. Now, most people, when they receive a gift, do what?
Ring you and say thanks.
Correct. So I've spoken to them. I've now sent them something. They've rung me. And if they then read it, because you have given it to them, I guarantee you by about chapter 4 or chapter 5, they're ringing you to go, "You need to come and help me because what am I going to do with this equity?" Yep. Now, you might not want to give Rich Dad Poor Dad. Your favourite book might be, whatever your favourite book is, go and get them involved. Yeah. Right? Be passionate about it. In a past life, one of our ambassadors was a guy called Tommy Hayfield. And I can remember chatting to Tom one day. He's a premiership coach, an absolute legend in his field. The last man I would ever thought needed motivating. So I said to Tom one day, "So do you read any books?" And he goes, "Only one." I go, "Okay." And he said, "Once a month, I read The Richest Man in Babylon."
Yeah, great book.
Well, I'd never heard of it. So I Googled it. And it was written in the 1920s.
I know, amazing.
It's wafer thin.
Yeah.
You can read it in an afternoon if you've got it. And here's this guy who used to read, and you know what he did after that discussion?
What was that?
2 days later, in an envelope with a signature inside, "Rosco, have a free read on me. Yeah. Regards, Tom."
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
Bang.
Yeah.
So not only had he told me about it, but he then gave me the impetus to go and to read. And I did, I read it. And I thought to myself, here we are 70 odd, 80 odd years later, it's still relevant.
So it's very much with the annual review going.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, we're still on the annual review. But it's going way beyond just going through the motions, ticking all the boxes, your loan operating well.
Okay, but you don't do that at the annual review.
No, that's early. way before. Yeah. But all of those.
So I put out we did the other day, we put out 5 tips to being a good broker. And one of the tips that I thought was very relevant is you need to press the flesh 18 times a year. So I've spoken to brokers going, no, it's all right. I've got this group and they send out Facebook messages every week. It's not a message. It's not a pressing the flesh. It's a generic message. It's like if you receive an email that says happy birthday, or as fate would have it, it was my wife's birthday yesterday. Mm-hmm. And she was feeling quite chuffed because 52 people had wished her a happy birthday on Facebook. Mm-hmm. She got 5 cards. So I explained to her that the cards were people who really cared and the other 55 were just ships in the night going, happy birthday. So you need to work out what your 18 strategic points are.
For the touch points.
Yeah. So I always say you need to every quarter personally touch that person. So that could be 3 phone calls and 1 face-to-face. So the easiest thing I used to do, and I recommend everyone does, is I would ring up and go, hi Stephanie, it's Rosco, how are you going? How's it all happening? Listen, it's been 1 year since your last confession. When can I pop round home, have you put the kettle on, make me one of those famous sticky buns that you make or whatever it may be, because it proves that I remembered what you did for me a year ago. Because I need to come out and just review everything. So I would go and do a review. Now, people would say to me, yeah, but you can do that online now because you've got their file, it's in the cloud, you can just say, is there anything changed? Oh, no, not really. So you would make the appointment with me. I'd come out to your house. I'd bring a gift, and the gift always was a CoreLogic RP data property report because it's relevant to you. So I wouldn't just turn up and go, so here you go. So I would turn up and go, listen, I've printed off a property report. It's pretty exciting news. Last year when we valued it, it was worth X. According to the data, based on sales in the area, it's now worth Y. How good are you? Praise people. Yeah. But don't just go and do an annual review and then tick it off and go, okay, well, I did what you told me to do. I've done an annual review. So you need to review the file before you go and work out what your strategic approach is going to be. Yeah. So if you know now that RP data, CoreLogic, is saying the house worth 750, you know that the house was originally only bought for 500, and you know the loan size was 80%, which is 400. Do some analysis in advance. Find out what their affordability is based on their previous data. Just have it ready. You don't hit them in the face with it. Just have it ready, or be aware of what it is. So when you go, you're trying to steer that conversation is, are you ready now to go to the next step? Do you want me to take you there? Take you to the promised land? Pretty important that you've got to have. So that being said, I said 18 touch points. So it's 18. So we've now got every 3 months plus a visit. So that's 4 out of 18. So we've still got 14 touch points left.
So most aggregators or brokers might deal with a third party.
Yep.
Will have some sort of touch point program. So it could be all sorts of things, including, you know, birthdays and Happy New Year and Christmas and RBA announcements, newsletters.
Well, glad you brought up the RBA.
Not necessarily.
So what happens a lot of times is on Facebook, LinkedIn, and via email, a lot of brokers get data from their aggregator, or they'll get data from their chosen digital marketing campaigns, and all they do is they just flick it on.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to flick it on, break it down and write a message, write a point, become pertinent, become relevant. So if it's a Facebook that you're passing on, write something. So write a prediction. Well, the RBA didn't move today, however, based upon I also believe that next month there'll be no movement either. Or talk about what that means, because a lot of clients will go, oh, yeah, okay, well, the reserve didn't move. But what does that mean? So do a little bit of research. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, but what does that actually mean to your clients?
Yeah.
So if the bulk of your clients might all be in the Frankston area, and that's where I predominantly ran my businesses, find out what's going on in Frankston. Like anyone who's driven through Frankston to go down to the peninsula at the moment, there's cranes everywhere. So there's a lot happening. So if you know in advance these things, so get on the phone, ring the local council, ask them in your heads up what's going on, and become relevant.
Yeah. I think the thing with touch points, Rosco, is that even if you've got a great campaign that's digital,
yep,
and you do your best to personalise it, and
yep,
we know not all people are really excited by birthday messages and things like that. You know,
they're not excited by a pre-populated. However, what if classic case going way back was I knew this guy was a mad St Kilda supporter. Why did I know that? Because for the guys out there, above the mantelpiece, so to speak, was a big framed football jumper, St Kilda football jumper. Well, to all the men out there, how many wives would ever allow you to have in pride of place in the family home a signed St Kilda football jumper in a frame in the lounge? So obviously it was a massive passion of this particular broker. So I knew it was his birthday coming up in a couple of months' time, and I also noticed St Kilda started winning a few games. So I went to the sports shop, bought a football, went down to St Kilda Football Club, walked into the lady behind the jump and said, are there any players here who could sign this football? I probably got a dozen signatures. I then got a card that I hand wrote myself, and I was able to comment on the fact that sometimes in life, you know, things can turn around to your advantage, a la St Kilda Football Club. So what are we going to do next to ensure that we set yourself up for retirement and those sort of things? And I wrote it it was handwritten.
Yeah.
The power of the pen is really good. And I know we can send out a gazillion messages online every single day, but people still get excited to go to the letterbox and find there's something other than a bill or junk mail that they can open and it's actually written. And when you write the card and demonstrate the relevance, so he would have read that card and realised that I remembered his passion for the St Kilda Football Club. So again, going back, we've got to know the age of the children anyway. So if we know the age, we get the dates of birth. How often do we sit in an appointment in a lounge room and little Sally's doing pirouettes over in the corner trying to show off, and the mother's going, don't, Ross hasn't got time to see you do that, you know. But ask, say, oh, does she do ballet? Or the mother will go, oh no, it's calisthenics and she's going up to Ballarat shortly to do her first ever competition. Well, find out when it is and then send little Sally a good luck card or something, because the clients, the problem we have today, seriously, is slowly but surely the personal one-on-one relationship is being diluted. And that's fantastic, but there's nothing wrong with still having a personal relationship with a client. So if you can imagine that little girl gets a card from you the week leading into South Street that says, and see, I remember because I used to know that South Street was a calisthenics program in Ballarat, is that you just send a little card and all of a sudden mum gets excited and teary, dad thinks you're a good bloke, the daughter's, because you're proving you're more than just someone trying to flog them alone.
Yeah. High tech, high touch.
Well, you can do both.
We can do both, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we can't, you know, mortgage brokers, I guess what you're saying, Ross, is can't just purely rely on all of the digital campaigns to stay connected to their clients?
Look, I'm damn sure that a 25-year-old, he's probably not interested in me doing a whole lot of paperwork face-to-face, and he's not old enough to have a daughter doing calisthenics. But it's all horses for courses. So if they're a 40-year-old, very few. So there's only a percentage of 40-year-olds who are really, really digitally savvy. So allow for those that aren't, and don't make them feel, yes, you can send them out a digital fact find and ask them to fill it in. But if you know they're of a certain age, say to them, if I send you a digital fact find, would you be able to send that in? But as soon as you hear the mum and ah, just say, don't worry about it. If you've got 5 seconds, we'll do it now together.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can do my assessments and come back to you with a solution. Yeah. So, yeah, if you're not pressing the flesh, you've got a real problem.
Yeah. And that brings me to networks. And I know, many brokers, and myself included when I was writing, would seek networks where I was connecting with people that I had some rapport with. It didn't always work. I would go into networking environments to try and get potential new customers, and that can work really, really well. But sometimes we actually overlook what's right in front of us. And you've got a really good example with this, Ross, where for those clients that have had a great experience with you, with their loan, and, they're feeling very positive about you, and obviously you'll seek referrals from them, but you can go one step further.
Yeah, you can.
And you've got a great story about this.
The problem that, I've been to seminars where someone will stand up and say, when you finish with your client, always ask them if they feel comfortable to refer you.
Sure.
And show me one client who goes, oh no, I'm not going to refer you. Everyone goes, yeah, I'll refer you. And then 6 months later you got nothing.
Yeah.
Diddly squat. So, and I guess the $64 million question is should we be remunerating people for referrals? But we'll leave that for another day. But sometimes you've got to actually coach people. So what I used to do is 2 things. I used to go with a piece of paper. Hey, I am 50 plus tax. So I'd go with a piece of paper and I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 written on it. Name, address, email address, phone number.
Yeah.
I had 5. And I go, do you know of 5 people at your work, that you believe I can help? So you say you work at ABC. How many people work there?
About 50. Tremendous.
So how many of those people are never ever happy about anything in life?
There'd be a small bunch.
Small. So is there anyone in particular that you can think of at work right now that's indicated to you that all's not well in Camelot? And maybe, just maybe, they could also do with a little bit of help.
Yeah.
Bang. I'm going to write down those details. Would you let Sally know that I'm not some horrid stalker, that I am going to ring and set up an appointment, just to have a chat?
Sure.
So I used to always, sometimes you've got to preempt. So I'd ask for 5 names. Why do I ask for 5? Because if you ask for 5, you'll get
5.
If you ask for 3, you'll get
3.
Okay. So, and then even if they can't remember more than 3 or 4, at least when you leave, they'll ring you later and go, I've thought of another one.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is I always ask for a testimonial. So in my halcyon days, I used to carry a folder around with all my testimonials in there. And this is, again, when people actually wrote a testimonial on a piece of paper. And then I used to catalogue them. So I'd go, so if your loan was a construction loan, I would put the testimonial in little areas. So if I'm now talking to you about a construction loan, these are other people that I've been able to help from a construction point of view. Yeah. So the old adage, have you ever seen a bad reference?
No.
No. So when you ask someone to do a testimonial, that's at the highest point of the relationship. They're going to write the most wonderful things about you. So you keep it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can use that going forward. But those 5 names, pretty important. So if you think I speak to brokers and they go, oh, look, I'm only settling 3 loans a month or 4 loans a month. So 3 times 5 is 15.
Mm-hmm.
So technically those 3 loans now should generate you 15 leads. So out of 15 leads, you should be able to make 40% of those, turn 40% of those into appointments. So that's 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my maths is right. Yeah, good boy, good boy. So that's 6 appointments. Now, out of 6 appointments, at 30%, I should be able to write 2 loans. So all of a sudden now, let's go back. So 3 loans to get me another 2 loans. The odds are pretty good, aren't they?
Very good.
Magnificent. If I could show you a way to get 66% penetration in the data you've currently got. So never be frightened to do that. So it's a gain. The other thing is that if you haven't got a home office, pretend you have. Oh, sorry, if you've got a home office and you don't have a main street shop or whatever, just pretend you have. So wear your uniform. So I met a gentleman the other day over in Berwick, and he answered the door and I wanted to give him a big hug because he must have listened to me, because he had his black slacks, black shoes, black polo with his brand all over it.
Yep.
And I thought, hallelujah. Mm-hmm. This is probably more for the guys than for the girls, but a lot of men don't know what to wear. So I've seen guys go in blue denim jeans and a Tommy Hilfiger polo shirt to an appointment. Hello. You'll be talking $1 million deal and you're wearing a pair of jeans. So guys, at least suit Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. If you're going to visit a client at their house or on weekends, ask their permission if they mind if you don't wear the bag of fruit. Yep. Okay. Tie, I like them. I know a lot of people don't. But picture this: you're in uniform. You're going into battle. You're going to try and fight for $1 million deal or $800,000 deal. That's going to bring you $5,000, $6,000 in revenue. So to put a suit on to make $6,000, the odds are pretty good.
We were talking about some really nice ways of connecting with your clients' network.
Yep.
So you've got a client that's really happy with what you've done, and you shared a story with me about helping them celebrate their new home.
True story.
True story.
So back, and this was pre-digital photos.
Yeah.
So if I had a client who was buying a new home or moving to a home, changing homes, there's always a photo, or there used to be a hard copy of a photo in the window of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So all I used to do is I'd go down to the real estate agent and say, hi, I'm Ross and I'm looking after the Joneses who've just bought this house. Just wondering if I can get a copy of the photo because I want to turn it in. So I used to turn the card or the photo of the house into like a postcard. I'd go and ask the clients, when you move in, who are the main people who you'd like to advise of your change of address? And are you interested in having a housewarming party? And if so, when? So I would use the card to advise their closest, nearest, dearest people change of address, and the fact that at 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the 5th of September, we're having a barbecue. And then I would offer to provide for the barbecue. And I would take a barbecue, branded of course, with my branded apron. And I would go and I wouldn't buy anything, I wouldn't buy top cuts, I'd just buy snags and rissoles and turn them into burgers. But while the women are in the kitchen making salads, the guys are all hanging around whoever's doing the barbie. So imagine that, you're doing a barbecue. Okay, even if you don't take your own, use theirs. But wear your apron with your branding on. first thing guys are going to go is, so where do you fit into all this? Oh no, I'm the guy who helped make it happen. We become great mates, and I'm excited for them. And I just thought, well, if I can just help out a little bit, celebrate the great event, yeah, it'd be good. The communication you get back and the goodwill that you get is unquantifiable.
Absolutely.
So you can imagine, you go to your letterbox, going back, and there's a picture of the house, and you had the printer put, John and Betty have now moved to, give them a call to congratulate them. And then on the back is, we're really pleased to announce that those of you who can make it, let us know we're having a housewarming on the. So you as the broker, you pay for that, post it out. You can control the flow.
Absolutely.
Just a very tiny little thing that makes you different.
Very different.
To any other broker.
And you've just got a group of people that your clients already endorsed you with the fact that they're having you in their home.
Yes.
Speaks a lot. And then you've got the opportunity to have these really sort of casual, nice conversations with people. They've got questions about the mortgage process, or what a property's doing at the moment, or
everyone's got an opinion.
Frankston, or this is what I've noticed.
Everybody's got an opinion.
So you could just have these great conversations, nothing threatening or too formal. Great way to build new relationships, and hopefully those people will become
the saddest thing is that, and the worst people for this are real estate agents. And if there's any real estate agents out there listening in, I apologise profusely. However, most brokers think that the people to speak to in a real estate agency are the salespeople. No. People to speak to are the property managers, because they control 500 properties that might represent 300 landlords. So it's vitally important that you go and speak to absolutely everybody in your PMA. It's a little word I use, which is prime market area. So for those brokers who are operating out of home, don't go down to the cafe in Main Street, suburbia, in your bloody suit. Go in your polo and go into that coffee shop, buy a coffee, sit there, drink it, read the paper. They'll get to know you.
Yeah.
And other people will get to see that you're a regular, and just rotate amongst 3 or 4. And then just spend time talking to people. Offer to sponsor a lot of cafes will mark a card and you'll get a free coffee upon the 5th time or the 10th time. Well, you sponsor it. So you pay for the coffee. You tell the proprietor you'll pay for it, but the little card has got your name and brand on the back and all sorts of things. So I guess the greatest fear that I have for our industry going forward is that we overcomplicate everything with massive amounts of emphasis on digital platforming, that in turn then removes the personal rapport, which in turn means that the broker and the client don't have a sticky relationship. Now, in Frankston, I used to walk the streets of Frankston and everyone knew me. So I go to local football, I do everything. So as I worked out, there was between the 5 boroughs of Frankston, there was 135,000 people. So take out your unders and your overs and everything else. So nice little market. So did I write a lot of loans in Werribee? No. If it was a referral from one of my clients to go and see their family member in Werribee, by all means.
Yeah.
But you don't want to start a tsunami of leads in an area that's 50 kilometres away from where you live.
No.
Because guess what? You will become a victim of your own success and you won't be able to service them properly, and
You're not going to be there every day having a coffee, going to the post office.
No.
Yeah.
Pretty important.
Yeah.
Just work the market you've got and be excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you use today with, so many people using different social media platforms for business, LinkedIn, Facebook are the two.
Yeah.
How would you use social media to maintain or build connections?
For those of you out there that know me, you'll realise that I'm a lunatic when it comes to social media. I do remember when I had my Yellow Brick Road franchise. So we're talking around 2011, 2012. And I went to a seminar, as we do. And like most of us, I tend not to listen at seminars. I'm there because I need the points. You all know that. However, this particular day, for some unknown reason, I just wrote a few things down. And one of them was create a Facebook page. So I went home, and my daughter back then was about 11 or 12. So she knew everything. And so she set up a Facebook page. So at my peak, I had 1,500 people that were my friends on Facebook page. I keep culling it now because I go, who's that person? I don't know. But what I started then to do was every client that I went and saw, my second question was, or maybe the third was, are you on Facebook? So we can friend each other.
Sure.
So to this day, I post a lot of relevant stuff about mortgages, about borrowing money, about property, about holidays, about things that are relevant.
Positioning yourself as the go-to when it comes to finance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, because you don't know where your next transaction is coming from. So I haven't written a loan personally since August 2013. However, every week I would probably get 4 or 5 private messages from the Facebook network asking me things about loans.
Potential leads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
So the proof's in the pudding. You cannot deflect the numbers. Numbers don't lie. People might go, oh yeah, but we live in a whole different world. Well, no, it's still relationship building. So if people don't like you, they're not going to deal with it. But that's the end story. And if you don't get face-to-face with that person, how do they determine whether they like you or not? And do you really want to take the risk of them selecting you based on the sound of your voice on a phone? So try wherever possible.
But it's not just about putting out posts on social media.
No.
It's engagement as well, isn't it?
It's all about engagement.
Yeah.
So I spend probably half an hour plus a night scrolling through everything that was posted during the course of the day, and wherever I can say something positive, I say it. Because don't like it. Don't just like it.
Yeah.
Just say something. Because what happens is if the post is relevant to the person, have a look right now. Go to your Facebook page and have a look. So there might be 93 likes, but there's only 5 comments. So no one clicks on the likes and see, I wonder who liked it. But everyone reads the comments. And those who liked it and those who made a comment, I'll see it. So, you know, it might be that they've just posted they bought a new car. So you just go, fantastic, tremendous, you know, always pay yourself first, reward yourself. And then you could get a private message back going, actually, it's all on the drip. Okay. Yeah. Did you do the car loan? No, I didn't. Give yourself an uppercut. Mm-hmm. Contact the client back going, well, do you want me to come and do a review to see if you structured your car loan better?
Yeah.
So you might be able to roll the car loan back into the mortgage at a cheaper rate. Boom, diddy, boom, off you go. Yeah. So you never know where your next lead sometimes is going to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, you're demonstrating to the client your desire to stay connected with them, that you are reading what they're posting, that you do care. And I know, Ross, you do spend quite a bit of time on social media.
Yep. Much to my wife's. Yeah.
But also you are providing commentary on topics for a wider audience.
Well, the last thing you want
to know you as well.
Yeah, Well, you need, let me think about this. So if all you are is the bloke who wrote my home loan, then most clients don't need you for at least another 3 to 4 years. So you've got to find relevance in between that period of time. So annual reviews, pressing the flesh, remaining intact, in contact, commenting on social media about them. I befriend, for example, I like every real estate agent in the Frankston precinct, everyone. Because what will happen then is, I don't know, ABC Real Estate will post something and they'll put up a property going, this great little property, da-da-da-da-da. So I will then do a bit of research. I might then do an RP data report on it. Yep. Then I can go to my database and go, look, I've just done a bit of a review of this property. In fact, I'm going to go to the Open this weekend. Looks like a no-brainer. Looks like something that'll really get some traction. Yep. Should have no trouble finding tenants. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't know who is or isn't thinking. And do I want to run the risk of waiting that 12 months to do my review when they stroll down to the Open next weekend and it's a Ray White Frankston and there's the loan market broker there, and before I know it, not only have I lost the opportunity, but in 3 months' time they've gone from a trail stone. Yeah. And you've done nothing wrong, but you haven't done anything. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what a transactional broker does, nothing. Yeah. It assumes.
Yes. Yeah. Do you believe we've been speaking for an hour?
No.
We have been speaking for an hour, yes, we have.
Gosh.
I just love your passion, Ross. I think today it's just so easy to, for brokers to think that all of the campaigns can lighten their load, which of course they can, and they are very important.
Well, I spoke in when we did our report in June.
Yeah.
I spoke about doing an FY18 business plan. So for those gazillion people online now, I thank you because I beat Glenn yesterday, and that's most important, that I win the most watched webinars. You must do a plan. So if you're not, don't find somebody you can show your plan to. So could be your accountant, could be the BDM at your aggregator. But for gosh, God's sake, write a plan. Now, don't go and get one. I don't want SWOT analysis and all that. But write a plan. Tell me in some words, what do you want to do this year? Why? Because that's the catalyst to achieve it. Why do you want to do it? Yeah. And that could be, oh, look, I want to take the family to Disneyland. Okay. So how much is that going to cost you? $20,000. Okay. So you want to increase your revenue piece by at least $20,000 to go to Disneyland. Okay. Show me what you're going to do different to achieve that result. And then make yourself accountable to somebody for that business plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we're out of time today, but maybe this could be a point for next time. But you need a marketing budget.
You do, yes.
And people always say to me, oh, yeah, but how much? So if your business plan says, I'm going to have $100,000 in revenue piece. Now, revenue to me has nothing to do with trail. Trail is king. So please don't add the two together and think you're going well. Just does my head in. If a broker's going to earn 100,000 in revenue, that's from direct commissions, trails over there. Trails is your superannuation. Around about 7 to 7.5% of that 100,000 should now be allocated to marketing. Yep. You should be able to know instantaneously. So that's $7,500 on 100,000. That's a lot of money.
It is.
Especially now when you can do a lot of digital work and everything else. So go and talk to your aggregators. Go and ask them, what marketing structurally platforms can you provide me? And if they can't, then go and find groups that can. There's a lot of good stuff happening out there. And of course, there's a lot of good stuff happening here as well. And it's a prepaid advertisement for mine. But make sure you've got a campaign in play. So if you as a broker, you've got a daughter who plays netball down at the netball club, and you know you've got a driver there anyway, so go and talk to the club to find out about sponsoring the netball team and how much is it going to be. So when they tell you it's $1,500, don't have a meltdown, because $1,500 out of your $7,500 budget, you might have to come up with some terms. You don't just write a cheque for $1,500. But those people who are struggling to understand how to do that, please get in touch with me, irrespective of which aggregator you're with, and I'll be more than happy to come up with some game plans for you. So
yeah, so you can reach us, from the...
But you've got to know. And don't be one of those brokers who go, oh, yeah, but I haven't got a marketing budget because I can't afford it. Well, if you haven't got a marketing budget, that probably means you haven't got enough money to continue your education pitch. You haven't got enough money to attend training sessions. You haven't got enough money to go to things. Then why are you in business?
Yeah.
Why? So there is always always an investment that you have to make. One of the things, if with your consent, Stephanie, next time was maybe we could talk about the hiring of staff and how do you fund that.
Great.
Because a broker, my last piece for the day, a broker's time is worth approximately $500 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you doing all the $25 an hour jobs? Think about that. So, and then those brokers that I talk to go, it's like the old joke about the Irish people who they go and buy a grapefruit for $1 and they drive out on the road to Pakenham and they sell all their grapefruits for $1 and they sell out pretty quickly. So Paddy says to Sean, I think we need a bigger truck. So it's not too dissimilar. Oh, I'm getting so many inquiries, I think I'll go and hire another broker. Well, how can you hire a broker, bring him in, or her, what do you got to offer? You haven't got an office, you haven't got a structure, you haven't got a PA, you haven't got a credit, you've got nothing to offer that broker. How in your right mind do you think you're ever going to hire a broker? Yeah. So it's all about building structure. So again, that can become part of your business plan. So that chap that I went and saw in Berwick the other day wearing his black polo shirt, I said to him, have you got a business plan? And he said to me, have I got a business plan? And he pulled out a bound copy of his business plan, and he had, seriously, it was like he's been listening to me all my life. I was that excited.
Fantastic.
But he knew exactly what he was going to do, when he was going to do it, but more importantly, why he was going to do it.
So anyone listening, if they're not already connected to you, Rosco, they can make contact if they want some assistance with building a business plan and some marketing
100%.
ideas.
So Rosco at mylocalbroker.com.au. So just Rosco without a C, so ROSCO at mylocalbroker, all one word, .com.au. Send me any questions you've got, and irrespective of where you're from. So you're not going to get me then trying to destroy what's already in place, but I'm more than happy. And look, to be honest with you, Stephanie, and you and I have all worked in other aggregator groups.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, as aggregators, all we want is good quality people in our industry getting great results.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't really matter, just because someone says, oh, I'm with XYZ aggregation, I'm not going to go, no, I'm not helping it.
That's right. Yeah,
we don't do
absolutely. No.
All right. So sorry if it's taken too long and your coffee you got, I've drunk most of mine.
We're going to catch up next month, and I think we will put hiring staff on the agenda.
Look, those of you who are listening in, if you can, or still listening in, I haven't put you to sleep, just send Stephanie here a little note of things you would like us to touch on.
Yes.
And we'll certainly put it together.
Absolutely. Actually, we do have a survey going out tomorrow as
Good.
well.
So be kind, all right? Please.
Well, it's actually, as well as giving us some feedback on our current series of webinars, because we do 3 a week.
Yeah, I know.
We're also really wanting to know what you'd like us to do in the future.
Yep.
So whether it's technology-based or specific business building or more lending, compliance, we are definitely continuing with our webinars because we get some great attendance and feedback.
Yeah.
And you'll see that come out tomorrow.
So if you get invited to a territorial sales meeting with a banker, do everything in your power to go. For you to be able to spend at least half an hour with these people. Now, PD days, not a wrap. Especially the way they're run today. So you get a person stand up for 7 minutes and they've got a prattle on about their products, and you've got 10 of them doing that. So if you get the chance, or pick the phone up, ring your BDM at the various banks and go, listen, I don't know a lot about your products. I'd love to catch up and have a chat so I can tell you about my business. Going back to my favourite person now with the black polo shirt, he actually showed me an email that he had created where he had done that very thing where he got the names of all the BDMs for all the banks and invited them to come and visit him so they could be interviewed to determine whether or not they were suitable for his business.
Good on you.
Well, I used to do the same. So never be frightened to ask the question. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Rosco.
That's all right.
That was fantastic. And yes, David, the session has been recorded. We'll make sure we get a copy to you. Happy to do that. We'll email that through, and anybody else that would like a copy, please shoot us an email and let us know.
And if you're a Collingwood supporter, just hang in there.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining us.
See ya.
Bye-bye.